The fluorescent hum overhead buzzed like a swarm of angry bees, but it was nothing compared to the thunder in my chest when Kai slammed the maintenance door shut behind us, sealing out the holiday chaos of the mall. "Leonardo, if you walk away now, you'll never know what it feels like to be truly seen," he said, his voice cracking like thin ice under too much weight, eyes locking onto mine with a fire that burned through my every excuse. And then, without a word more, he dropped to his knees on the cold concrete floor, not in defeat, but in a plea so raw it stripped me bare. Right there, amid the bleach bottles and mop buckets, in the underbelly of a glittering New York empire. I froze, my polished loafers rooted to the spot, the crumpled resignation letter from my firm clutched in my fist like a grenade I'd forgotten to pull the pin on. Kai's face, usually hidden under that faded blue janitor's cap, was inches from mine now, sweat-slicked, determined, the faint scar on his jaw from some long-ago bar fight catching the dim light. We'd danced around this for months. Stolen glances over coffee cups in the break room, his calloused hand brushing mine when he'd accidentally fixed the leaky faucet in my office corner of the mall's admin wing. But this was no dance. This was a collision. It started 6 months earlier, in the sweltering August heat that turned Manhattan's sidewalks into griddles. I was Leonardo Reyes, 28, the golden boy of Reyes and Associates Architects. My family's firm, perched on the 42nd floor of a glass tower that screamed old money and newer ambitions. Dad built it from immigrant grit in the Bronx, Mom polished it with Park Avenue poise, and me? I was the heir apparent, sketching blueprints for luxury condos that dotted the skyline like diamonds on a velvet throat. Gay in a world of straight lines and sharper expectations, I'd learned early to compartmentalize. Work by day, grinder by night, and never the twain shall meet. Until Kai, the mall Hudson Yard's latest jewel, a labyrinth of marble floors and designer storefronts, housed our satellite office, a sleek glass cube where I hid from the firm's main hustle. I'd pop down for lunch escapes, weaving through the throngs of tourists and power shoppers, pretending the anonymity soothed my soul. That's when I first saw him, broad shoulders under that ill-fitting uniform, pushing a buffing machine across the food court like he was reclaiming the tiles from the invasion of spilled lattes and French fry grease. Kai Moreno, 26, from the same Queens neighborhood as my abuela, though he'd never know it. His name tag was crooked, his smile rarer than a quiet subway car, but when our eyes met over a falafel wrap, mine discarded half-eaten, his mop pausing mid-swipe, something shifted. A spark, maybe, or just the AC kicking in. "Hey, architect boy," he'd called out later that week, catching me sketching on a napkin at the edge of the pretzel stand. His voice was gravel wrapped in honey, laced with that East Coast edge that said he'd seen too much too young. I looked up, startled, my pencil skidding across the paper. "You draw like you're fighting the lines. What's eating you?" I laughed it off, nerves mostly, but he lingered, leaning on his mop handle like it was a microphone stand. Turns out, Kai was the night shift king of this concrete kingdom. Mopping up after closing, fixing busted escalators, listening to the ghosts of the day shift spill their secrets into the vents. Ex-army, discharged after a knee injury in Kandahar. Back home to a mom battling MS and a little sister dreaming of Juilliard. No college for him. Just the steady grind of a janitor's badge to keep the lights on in their Astoria walk-up. Beats flipping burgers, he'd shrug, but his eyes said otherwise. Hungry for more, always sketching doodles on his breaks. Wild graffiti tags that hinted at an artist caged in coveralls. We fell into rhythm easy, like two puzzle pieces from different boxes that somehow fit. Coffee runs turned to late-night texts. Him venting about a drunk Santa photo shoot meltdown. Me confessing the pressure of Dad's legacy speech at the firm holiday gala. "You're more than blueprints, Leo," he'd type back, his autocorrect mangling legacy into lychee, making me snort laugh in the dark of my Chelsea loft. I started leaving sketches in the break room. Subtle ones, cityscapes with hidden hearts, and he'd pin them up, adding his own flourishes in Sharpie. A bird breaking free from the grid. By October, the leaves were flaming out on the high line, and so was my restraint. We met after hours in the mall's empty atrium. the massive Christmas tree rising like a sentinel of tinsel and judgment. Kai showed up with a thermos of spiked hot chocolate, Mom's recipe, minus the rum she sneaks in, and we sat on the fountain's edge, legs dangling, the water's murmur drowning out the world's noise. "Ever feel like you're just maintaining someone else's mess?" he asked, staring at the reflections in the pool. I nodded, throat tight, and when his hand found mine under the pretense of steadying a spill, I didn't pull away. His palm was rough, alive with stories, calluses from wrenches, scars from sandstorms, and it grounded me like nothing else. That night, we kissed for the first time. Tentative, then fierce, tasting of cinnamon and unspoken fears. Under the tree's glow, with security cams blinking like distant stars, it felt like rebellion. Pure, electric. "This could be us," he whispered against my lips. Against all the shiny bullshit. I believed him. God, how I believed him. But belief's a fragile thing in a city that chews up dreams and spits out spreadsheets. November brought the firm's big pitch, redesigning the mall's East Wing into experiential retail therapy. Buzzword salad for shops that sold overpriced therapy via scented candles. I poured everything into it, nights blurring into dawn. Kai's texts my only lifeline. "Miss your sketches," he'd send at 3 a.m., attaching a photo of his latest. A heart cracked open, spilling city lights. I'd reply with voice notes, voice husky from exhaustion, promising we'd escape to Coney Island once the deal closed. Then came the betrayal, sharp as a drafting knife to the gut. My best friend and firm partner in crime, Javier, who'd grown up with me in the Bronx tenements, caught a whiff of my distraction. We'd been thick as thieves since Little League. Him the straight-laced charmer who covered for my skipped masses at St. Raymond's. But ambitions of venom and Javier's was peaking. Over whiskey sours at the gala after-party. Dad clapping me on the back for the pitch win. Mom beaming in her Chanel. Javier cornered me in the coat room. "Who's the side piece, Leo? Some mall rat?" "Dad's watching, man. This legacy, it's ours, not some blue-collar flings." I shoved him off, heart pounding, but the seed was planted. Doubt. The next day, anonymous emails hit Dad's inbox. Blurry photos from a security feed, Kai and me in the atrium, hands linked. No faces clear, but the timing, damning. Dad called me in, face thunderous under the conference room's recessed lights. "Family first, Leonardo. Always." His voice was steel, forged in boardrooms and broken promises. Mom's eyes, later in the kitchen, were softer, pleading, "Really? We just want you safe, Mijo. The world's not kind to dreamers who chase shadows." I ghosted Kai that week, texts unread, calls dodged. Work became my bunker. Endless revisions, schmoozing investors at steakhouses where the air reeked of cigar smoke and heteronormative backslaps. Kai's shifts overlapped mine now. He'd linger in the halls, cap low, but I'd avert my eyes, the guilt a lead weight in my gut. Once, I overheard him in the break room, voice low on the phone. "Nah, ma, it's fine. Just a phase. Guys like him don't stick around anyway." It sliced deeper than Dad's disappointment. December crept in like a thief, the mall decked in red and green, carols piping through speakers like forced cheer. I was unraveling, sketches turning frantic, sleep a stranger. Javier noticed, of course, pulling me aside after a client lunch. "Told you, bro, cut it clean. We've got the Hamptons build next." His grin was all teeth, no warmth. Betrayal's face, I realized too late. Not malice, just self-preservation. He'd leaked the photos himself, trading my secret for a nod from Dad on the partnership track. The breaking point hit on Black Friday Eve. The mall a zoo of elbow-jabbing shoppers and blaring ads. I ducked into the maintenance closet for a breather. Away from the frenzy, the fake smiles. When Kai burst in, door clicking shut behind him. His uniform was rumpled, eyes bloodshot from what I prayed weren't tears. "Leo, talk to me, please." The plea hung heavy, the air thick with pine cleaner and pine needles from the wreaths outside. I turned, words armored. "This isn't, we can't. My family, the firm." But he stepped closer, Close enough I could smell his soap. Irish Spring, cheap and honest. Your family? Or your fear? I see you, Leonardo. The real you, not the suit. The one who draws hearts in the margins. The fight spilled out then. Accusations flying like confetti in a storm. Me, yelling about legacies and risks. Him, voice rising with the hurt of a soldier left on the field. You think I don't know betrayal? My CO sold us out in the desert. Left my squad hanging for a promotion. But I fought for what mattered. You gonna fight for this? For us? I shoved the resignation letter at him. Scrawled that morning, a Hail Mary to break free. Read it. I'm done. With all of it. He scanned the page, then crumpled it, tossing it aside. The hum of the fluorescence swelled, or maybe it was my pulse. And that's when he did it. Closed the door tighter, as if barricading the world, then sank to his knees. Not subservient, no, this was defiance wrapped in vulnerability. His hands gripped my hips lightly, eyes upturned, brimming but unspilled. Then stay with me, not as the architect, as Leo, the one who makes me believe in more than mops and minimum wage. Marry the mess, Leo. Marry me. The world tilted. Shoppers' laughter echoed distantly. A siren wailed on 34th Street. But in that closet, it was just us. Two sons of immigrants, knees scarred by different battles, hearts laid bare on linoleum. I sank down too, pulling him up into an embrace that cracked me open. Yes, I whispered, the word a key turning in a long-locked door. God, yes. But freedom's no fairy tale ending. We emerged from that closet, literally, figuratively, into a mall still pulsing with commerce's cold pulse. Dad's call came at dawn. Disowned, in all but blood. Javier's partnership? Poof, revoked when I exposed his leak with a single email chain. Mom? She showed up at my loft 2 days later, eyes red-rimmed, a Tupperware of eras con candles in hand. Your father. He'll come around. Love like that? It's the real legacy, Mijo. Kai and I didn't rush the altar. Instead, we built slow, him enrolling in night classes at Fit for graphic design, my freelance sketches turning into a pop-up exhibit in Brooklyn warehouses. We moved to a Bushwick brownstone, walls papered in our combined art, hearts and skylines intertwined. Betrayal lingered like a bruise, but it toughened us, turned pain into pigment. On our first anniversary, New Year's, fireworks blooming over the East River, Kai knelt again, this time on our fire escape, ring in hand, a simple band, engraved with "Against the shiny bullshit." No miles, no mops. Just us, vowing to maintain each other's messes. The city sprawled below, a grid of grit and glow, and for once, I felt like the architect of my own skyline. In the end, it's not the highs that define us, but the knees we take, the moments we choose vulnerability over victory. Kai taught me that, and in the quiet hours, when the world's hum fades, I still hear that door click shut, the one that let the light in. Wait, no, that wasn't the end. Stories like ours don't wrap in neat bows. They unravel and reweave, threads frayed by the very hands that mend them. 6 months after that fire escape promise, the skyline we'd claimed started shifting again. Kai's classes were kicking his ass. Supply lists that ate into his janitor pay, professors who eyed his work like it was welfare art. It's good, Moreno, one told him after a critique. But raw, needs polish. Kai laughed it off over our Ritual Tuesday tacos, but I saw the crack. The way he'd stare at his sketches, erasing lines till the paper tore. Me? Freelance was feast or famine. My exhibit got buzz. A Village Voice blurb calling it queer cartography for the concrete jungle. But commissions trickled. Dad's silence was a wall. Mom's visits a bridge she crossed alone. Give him time, she'd say, stirring cafecito, her gold bangles clinking like chimes. But time's a luxury, and ours was rationed by rent hikes and Kai's growing doubt. The conflict reignited in spring, when Hudson Yards called. Not the mall, but the developers. A consulting gig to tweak the East Wing pitch I'd walked from. The email landed like a lure. 6 figures, prestige, a nod from the old guard. Javier's name was CC'd. Apologetic footnote. Water under the bridge? I deleted it twice, but the third time, staring at our fridge stocked with ramen and dreams, I hit reply. One meeting, I told Kai that night, his head on my chest as rain lashed the windows, just to feel out the waters. His silence was louder than thunder. The next morning, he was gone before dawn, double shift, he texted. No kiss goodbye. The meeting was a viper's nest. Suits in the conference room, blueprints unrolled like battle maps. Dad wasn't there, but his shadow loomed in every handshake. Javier sidled up post-pitch, scotch in hand. Knew you'd come back, Leo. Family's family. His eyes flicked to my ring. Simple, unassuming, and something twisted in his smile. That mall rat still shining your shoes? I clocked him square in the jaw. Chaos erupted, gasps, security swarming. But as they dragged me out, badge yanked, I felt lighter than in months. Betrayal's echo flipped. Mine this time, but righteous. Kai found me on a bench in Bryant Park. Knuckles bruised. Ty askew. He didn't ask. Just handed me a coffee. Black as my mood. Heard about the sock to the jaw. Proud of you. We walked the paths in silence. Cherry blossoms shedding like confetti regrets. Until he stopped under the library lions. Leo, I'm scared. What if I'm holding you back? Your sketches fly. Mine just mop floors. I pulled him close. The park's bustle fading to our breaths. You're my floor, Kai. The ground I stand on. We kissed there, public and unapologetic. A middle finger to the passers-by who stared. Romance isn't grand gestures alone. It's the quiet vows in green spaces, where the world's too busy to notice your heart. But summer brought the Real storm. Kai's mom took a turn, hospital bills piling like storm clouds. He picked up overtime, our nights shrinking to exhausted collapses. My freelance dried up after the yard's fallout. Dad's disownment had ripples. Whispers in the industry. Unreliable. Dramatic. Desperation crept in, and with it, temptation. Enter Marcus Hale. Silver Fox investor, gallery owner with a Tribeca loft and an eye for emerging talents like me. He spotted my exhibit remnants online, invited me to a soiree. Networking, he called it, but his gaze lingered like smoke. You're wasted on blueprints, Leonardo. Let me showcase you properly. Over wine and Warhol prints, he dangled deals. Solo show, funding, a world without ramen nights. Kai smelled it on me when I got home. Perfume of privilege clinging like guilt. Who's Marcus? He asked, not accusatory. But the hurt was there, fresh as a reopened wound. I confessed. The invite, the promise. It's just business, I insisted. But his laugh was bitter. Business like Javier's? Or Dad's legacy? Wake up, Leo, we're not them. The fight was epic. Words as weapons, hurled across our tiny kitchen. Me accusing him of insecurity, him nailing my privilege like a spike. You get second chances because your name opens doors. Me? I get mops. He stormed out, door slamming like that closet echo, leaving me with the ring's weight and a hollow chest. Days blurred into radio silence. I crashed at Mom's. Her era's a poor substitute for reconciliation. Dad even showed begrudging, beer in hand on the stoop. Heard about the punch. Reminds me of me, young. A grunt. Then, love's a fight, son. Worthy ones leave marks. It was the closest to absolution, but hollow without Kai. I found him at the mall. Irony's cruel joke. Buffing the atrium floor at midnight. The Christmas tree replaced by summer banners flapping like flags of surrender. He didn't stop when I approached, the machine's whine drowning my apologies. Kai, please. Marcus was nothing. A ghost of what I thought I needed. He killed the buffer, face shadowed. And what do you need now, Leo? The fighter or the fallback? I dropped to one knee then. Not proposal style, but plea. Hands on the cool marble, eyes level with his hurt. You. Always you. The one who sees the lines I fight. Shoppers long gone, security distant. It was our world again. Raw, real. He pulled me up, embrace fierce. No more ghosts. Promise. Summer waned, but our heat built. Marcus's offer? Declined with a thank you note. Kai's bills? crowdfunded via his sketches. My exhibit contacts chipped in, turning his mop art into a viral thing. We collaborated. A series, Underbelly of Empire, murals of hidden hearts in urban veins. Galleries called. We picked the scrappy ones, Brooklyn spots where queerness wasn't a footnote. Fall brought equilibrium, leaves turning like pages in our story. Mom hosted a dinner. Dad came, silent but present, toasting with a nod to Kai's latest piece. Javier faded to a cautionary tale, his partnership crumbling under his own leaks. Betrayal's boomerang. Yet the climax loomed, unbidden. Kai's knee, that old war wound, flared in October's chill. Doctors said surgery, $6,000 we didn't have. Panic clawed back, but we fought tandem. Bake sales at his sister's school, Eras con Gandals. Naturally, my sketches auctioned for Queer Resilience Fund. The night before the op in our brownstone, he knelt again. Ring adjustment really but symbolic. We're in this, Leo. Knees and all. Watching him wheeled away, monitors beeping like erratic heartbeats, I vowed silently. No more compartments. Post-op recovery was grit, him sketching from bed, me reading blueprints aloud like bedtime stories. We emerged stronger, scars badges of battles won. By Thanksgiving, the skyline felt ours. A joint exhibit at MoMA PS1. Critics calling it a love letter to the overlooked. Dad attended, arm around Mom, whispering to Kai, "Good lines, son. Progress, humanistic and hard one. But stories breathe. They don't end." As snow dusted the High Line that December, Kai and I walked it hand in hand, breaths fogging the air. "Remember the closet?" he asked, squeezing my fingers. "Every door," I replied, and in that moment, speechless no more, I knew. Love's the ultimate blueprint, dramatic, flawed, eternally redrawn. Winter's grip tightened that year, turning New York into a postcard of frost-kissed ferocity. But inside our Bushwick haven, warmth bloomed defiant. Kai's recovery was a slow thaw. Physical therapy sessions where he'd grit through the pain, turning grimaces into grins with jokes about rehabbing like a real housewife. I'd join him, spotting his reps on the mat, our laughter echoing off clinic walls lined with motivational posters. Pain is temporary, glory eternal. That felt truer than ever. The exhibit's success was our oxygen. Underbelly sold out opening night. Collectors in Kashmir cooing over canvases that captured the mall's hidden pulse. Janitor carts as chariots, escalators as veins pumping the city's blood. Kai's touch was the soul. Bold strokes of acrylic rebellion. My lines the architecture beneath. Critics ate it up, one-times piece dubbing us the Reyes Moreno Renaissance, redefining queer space in straight-edged realms. We framed the clipping above our bed, a talisman against the doubts that still whispered at 2 a.m. But conflict, that old specter, doesn't bow out gracefully. It slunk back in January, disguised as opportunity. A scout from L.A., sun-soaked promises of Hollywood backlots and gallery galas, slid into my DMs post-exhibit. West Coast calling, Leonardo. Solo retrospective at LACMA. Bring your edge. Leave the baggage. The offer glittered. Funding for Kai's PT indefinitely. A Pide Terra in Silver Lake. Escape from NYC's Bone Chill and Bill Chasers. I showed Kai over diner eggs, the proposal trembling in my hand like a leaf in a gale. His fork paused mid-air, yolk dripping forgotten. La? That's huge, Leo. But his eyes, those deep brown pools that first drowned me, clouded. And us? Your roots here, Mom's dinners, my sister's recitals. It's not goodbye. I rushed, words tumbling like loose change. We go together. Fresh start. You could teach workshops out there, your styles made for Venice Beach vibes. He set the fork down, deliberate. Or it's you chasing glory, me tagging along like the mop. The diner hummed around us. Waitresses calling orders, couples cooing over menus. But our booth was an island, tension thick as fog off the Hudson. The argument simmered home, erupting in our living room amid half-packed boxes from the exhibit teardown. "This is for us," I shouted, gesturing wildly at the LACMA letter. No more scraping by. We deserve sun. Space. Deserve. Kai's voice cracked, rare anger flashing. I deserve to feel like your partner, not your +1 to the promised land. You think I haven't heard the whispers? Leo's the talent. Kai's the inspiration. Like I'm your muse, not your equal. I reeled, the betrayal sting fresh. Not his, but mine. Echoing Javier's old poison. That's not. I see you, Kai. Every day. Then prove it. Stay. Build here where the fight's real. He grabbed his coat, door slamming into the hall's echo. Nights fractured after that. Me pacing the loft, sketching feverishly. Skylines bleeding into sunsets. LA's sprawl mocking Manhattan's grid. Kai crashed at his mom's. Texts curt. Need space. Mom called, sensing the rift. Mijo, love's not a relocation. It's a foundation. Yours is here with him. Dad, surprisingly, weighed in too. A rare voice memo, gruff. Chase deals to California once. Lost more than I gained. Fight for the home that holds you. Wisdom from the prodigal patriarch, laced with his own regrets. I swallowed pride, drove to Astoria at dawn. Fog cloaking the RFK like a shroud. Kai was on the stoop, nursing coffee, little sister Mia braiding his hair with neon clips. Go inside, kiddo, he murmured, but she hugged me first, fierce, forgiving before scampering in. We sat on the steps, breaths mingling in the cold. I turned it down, I said, no preamble. LACMA, all of it, because home's not a zip code. It's you. The mess we maintain. His hand found mine, calluses rough against my knuckles. Scared me, Leo. Thought you'd fly solo, leave me mopping shadows. Never. The kiss was salt-tinged. Tears, maybe, or just the sea air from nearby, but it sealed us anew. Romance's quiet thunder. Not grand gestures, but gritty returns. Spring unfurled tentative. Our rhythm resynced. Kai's PT progressed. He even led a community workshop at the local Y. Art from the edges. Teens from Queens tenements channeling their grit onto canvas. I joined, co-teaching, our styles meshing like fingers laced. One kid, a wiry boy named Diego with eyes too old for 15, showed a piece. A closet door cracked open, light spilling. For my uncle, he mumbled. Kai clapped his shoulder. I fought tears. Humanistic echoes, our story rippling out. But climax brewed in May, when betrayal's ghost resurrected. Not Javier, but blood. Dad's firm hit scandal. Embezzlement leaks, Javier's fingerprints all over. Feds raided the tower. Headlines screaming, Reyes legacy in ruins. Dad called, voice hollow. Leo, this is bad. Might lose everything. I went to the house, that Park Avenue fortress I'd fled. Mom's face ashen. Dad slumped in his study amid toppled files. Should have listened, he muttered, eyes meeting mine without the old steel. Pushed you too hard. Thought legacy was bricks. It's blood. And heart. Kai came too, uninvited but unwavering, hands steady on my back. Mr. Reyes, he said, extending a portfolio. Our latest collab, a blueprint for a community center in the Bronx. Queer-friendly, artist-led, for the underbellies. This is what legacy looks like now. Let us help build it. Dad stared, then nodded slow, seismic. Call me Carlos. The first crack in the wall. The fallout was brutal. Firm dissolved, Dad testifying, Javier fleeing to Miami with a plea deal. But from ashes, Phoenix, Carlos joined our workshop as guest mentor, his engineering eye-sharpening teen sketches. Mom beamed at family dinners, now including Mia's violin scraps and Kai's era's twists. Summer solstice, we celebrated on the High Line, picnic under stars, city hum a lullaby. Kai knelt casual, pulling a sketch from his pocket. Our brownstone, expanded with a studio wing. Marry me here, Leo. For real. No malls, no migrations. Just us, roots deep. Yes, I breathed, pulling him down to the blanket. Fireworks popped distant, 4th of July early, but ours were internal, emotional supernovas. Yet stories scar. They teach through tenderness. Kai's knee held, but his dreams expanded. Solo show at a Queen's Gallery. Mop masterpieces.
Mine?
Co-founding Reyes Moreno Designs. Sustainable spaces for the marginalized. First project that Bronx Center. Fall painted us gold. Conflicts composted into growth. Betrayal? Fertilizer now. On a crisp November walk. Anniversary Eve. Kai paused. Hand to my belly. Imagination's leap. Adoption whispers on the horizon. Our skylines just starting, Leo. I nodded, speechless again. Love's the ultimate draft. Revised, resilient, radiating human light. Autumn's palette deepened that year. Leaves crunching underfoot like whispered secrets as Kai and I navigated the labyrinth of forever planning. The proposal lingered in the air like good bourbon, warm, heady, but logistics loomed. Venue hunts through Brooklyn lofts, guest lists that balanced Mom's church ladies with Kai's army buddies, and the quiet terror of vows that promised eternity in a world of evictions and echoes. Carlos, Dad, still a syllable I tested like a new language, threw himself into it, surprising us with blueprints for a ceremony arch. Wrought iron, etched with intertwined skylines. No Park Avenue pomp, he grumbled over sketch reviews. But his eyes twinkled. Redemption's forge at work. Mom orchestrated the menu. Fusion feast of paella and pupusas. While Mia, now 12 and all elbows and attitude, designed our invites. Doodles of hearts breaking free from concrete cages. Kai thrived in the chaos, his gallery show a smash. Critics cooing over pieces born from mop breaks. One sold to the Met for a sum that paid off lingering PT bills. From underbelly to upper echelon, the Post quipped. But he framed the check stub instead, pinning it beside our first napkin sketch. Proof we're more than the grind, he'd say, kissing my temple in the studio glow. My designs flourish too. The Bronx Center broke ground. A beacon of recycled brick and rainbow murals, funded by grants that favored narratives of resilience. Diego, our teen protege, laid the first stone, grinning gap-toothed. For the closets we crack, he toasted, juice cup raised. Teaching him, watching Kai's patience draw out his fire, felt like paying forward the grace we'd clawed for. But harmony's a high wire. One gust can tilt it. The wind came in gusts that December, as snow blanketed the city in hush. Javier resurfaced, not in person, but viral. A tell-all podcast from his Miami hideout, Empire's Fall. Inside the Reyes betrayal. He'd spun it silkier than truth. Me as the spoiled son who tanked the firm for personal drama. Dad as the duped patriarch, and Kai? A footnote. The janitor who swept Leo off his feet, then under the rug. It hit like shrapnel. Shares spiking on socials, old clients ghosting, even a protest at the center site. Bigots waving signs. No gay glory on public dime. Carlos fielded the calls, voice steady. Lies from a liar. But the damage seeped. Kai's show bookings waned. Whispers at workshops turning wary. Is it true? A student asked him once, pencil hovering. Kai's smile didn't reach his eyes. Truth's in the art, kid. Not the noise. I burned with rage, Javier's final knife twist. Betrayal's long tail. Nights, I'd pace our fire escape. City lights blurring through fury tears. Kai's arms my anchor. He's poison, I'd mutter. But we're the antidote. Romance in the raw. Holding each other through the howl. Bodies heat against winter's bite. Climax crested New Year's Eve, the podcast's anniversary wave crashing. We were at a queer ballroom bash in Williamsburg. Drag queens lip-syncing Gaga, confetti cannons primed, when Javier crashed it, literally. Bursting through the doors in a rented tux, mic in hand like a mad prophet. Leo, brother, time to set the record straight. The room froze, then buzzed. Phones out, vultures circling. Kai tensed beside me, fist clenched, but I stepped forward, heart hammering. Straight? You wouldn't know it if it mugged you, Javi. Laughter rippled, thawing the tension. He lunged verbal, spilling proof, fabricated emails, doctored photos, painting me the villain, Kai the gold digger. You threw away legacy for lust. Kai moved then, not with fists, but voice. Steady, soldier sharp. Legacy? Yours was built on lies. Ours? On love that outlasts empires. He pulled a USB from his pocket. Our ace. Javier's old confession email, forwarded post-punch, timestamped truth. Play it, Kai said to the DJ, who obliged. Javier's voice boomed, admitting the leaks, the jealousy. Over the speakers, confetti falling like judgment snow. The crowd erupted, boos for Javi, cheers for us. He slunk out, tail between legs, podcast dreams dashed. We didn't gloat, just danced slow, close. Amid the revelry, his knee steady against mine. Knew you'd kneel for this? I whispered, echoing our closet vow. Aftermath was catharsis. The podcast retracted. Javier sued into silence. Our center's funding doubled by sympathetic donors. Resilience sells. A backer quipped. But we knew. It was the human hook. Spring wedding bloomed under that iron arch in Prospect Park. Cherry trees confettiing petals, 200 souls witnessing. Carlos walking me, Mom arm in arm with Kai. Me a flower girl with violin serenade. Diego best man toasting cracked doors. Vows were ours. I promise to see your lines, fight your fights, maintain your messes. Rings exchanged, his scarred hand trembling mine smooth, sealed it. Honeymoon was low-key. Coney Island boardwalk, cotton candy and cyclone rides. No luxury but laughter. This is the shiny, Kai said. Ferris wheel cresting. City a distant sparkle. Our bullshit. Back home, life layered. The center opened, ribbon cut by a mayor touting inclusive innovation. Classes buzzing with kids like young us. Kai taught full-time now, adjunct at Pratt. I consulted our firm a kitchen table affair. Carlos partnered occasional. His gruff, not bad son our Oscar. But depth demands shadow. Kai's mom passed that summer. Peaceful in her sleep. Leaving a void like a gutted building. We mourned at her Astoria wake. Eras flowing, stories of her rum-spiked wisdom. She saw us, you know? Kai whispered graveside, rain mingling tears. Said you were good for my soul. Romance's elegy. We planted a tree at the center, roots for her memory. Grief wove in but didn't unravel. It textured. Fall brought firsts. Adopting a rescue pup, scrappy mutt-named Sketch. Tripping over our feet in joyful chaos. Holiday gala? Our exhibit's MoMA extension. Carlos toasting. To legacies rewritten. As snow fell again, Kai knelt playful by the tree. Ornaments our sketches. Pulling me down. Speechless yet. Never, I lied grinning. But in truth, every moment with him rendered me so. Awed by the man who'd closed the door, opened the heart. Humanity's arc. Not perfection, but persistence. Ours a skyline ever building. Winter's encore that year was merciless. Blizzards blanketing Brooklyn in white silence. Turning commutes to treks and our brownstone into a burrow of blankets and blueprints. Sketch the pup adapted fast. Paws punching through drifts for stick-fetch marathons in the yard. His yips a counterpoint to Kai's morning stretches. Knee rehab now ritual. Each bend a victory lap. We'd watch from the window, coffee steaming, his head on my shoulder. Think he'll outrun us one day? Kai'd muse, fingers tracing my wedding band. Life's cadence steadied. The center thrived, a hub for queer youth artists. Murals blooming on outer walls. Workshops spilling laughter into Bronx streets. Diego, now 16 and all gangly grace, curated his first show there, doors ajar, pieces echoing our origin tale. Opening night, he dedicated it to us. For the janitor and the architect who mopped up my mess. Tears blurring the spotlights. Carlos integrated seamless, his Park Avenue polish sanding rough with community grit. Never thought I'd trade boardrooms for paint splatters. He'd admit over post-class beers, but the light in his eyes said otherwise. Mom, ever the weaver, knit it familial. Sunday suppers at our place, pup underfoot, Mia's violin duetting Kai's off-key warbles. Legacy redefined, not inherited, but incubated. Yet drama's DNA persists. It mutates. Spring unearthed it in verdant guise. A national grant for pioneering queer spaces. Our center shortlisted. The catch? A cross-country tour, panels in SF, Chicago, Atlanta, spotlighting founders. You too, the faces. The email gushed. Guy balked over breakfast gala. Tour? With sketch? And your knee mileage. I scrolled details, pulse quickening. It's exposure, funding locked if we nail it. Think. Centers in every city. Doors cracked coast to coast. His fork speared spinach like a spear. Or it's LA 2.0 chasing spotlights, leaving roots dangling. The old fracture lines glowed. His fear of being the tag-along. My itch for impact. We tabled it, but tension simmered. Snapped sketches, silent drives. Romance strained. Kisses clipped, nights back-to-back in bed. Talk to me, I'd plead, but he'd roll away. Need to feel equal, Leo, not elevated. Climax detonated mid-May, grant deadline looming. A scout from the panel, slick Atlanta developer, DM'd me solo. Leonardo, your vision's gold. Ditch the co-founder vibe. Solo pitch seals it. Attached. Mock-ups crediting me alone. Kai's murals inspired by. Betrayal's bitter redux, not mine but tempted. I deleted it, gut churning, but the seed sprouted doubt. That night, over takeout lo mein, I confessed. They want me front and center. Without you. And I said no. Lie by omission heavy. But what if? For the cause. The room iced. The cause? Or your ego? His voice rose, pup whining at the pitch. Every time Leo legacy pulls you. Dad's, Javier's, now this. I'm the anchor, not the sail. Words escalated. Me defending ambition's necessity. Him nailing the privilege chasm. You get invites. I get inspired by. He grabbed his jacket, sketch trailing, door thudding shut. I chased to the street. Rain slicking sidewalks. Neon bodega signs haloing his silhouette. Kai, wait. He turned. Face streaked. Rain or rage? Prove it, then. Kneel for us, not them. I did. Dropped to the wet pavement. Cars hissing past. Pup nosing my side. You're my equal. My everything. No pitch without you. Horns blared. But his hand pulled me up. Embraced desperate in the downpour. Forgive the ghost, I murmured. You're the light. We toured together, equals inked on every form. Panels crackled. SF's Castro crowd cheering our closet origin. Chicago's loop suits grilling logistics. Atlanta's heat mirroring our fire. Kai shone. His stories of sandstorm solidarity, mop-born masterpieces. Stealing hearts, securing funds. Janitor wisdom. A moderator quipped. He winked. Architect heart. Summer victory. Grants flowed, centers sprouting like urban wildflowers. Back home, we celebrated on Coney Sands. Waves lapping, sketch chasing gulls. Kai sketching our next blueprint. A family expansion, adoption papers whispering. But humanism humbles. Fall brought Carlos's diagnosis. Prostate, early but insistent. Chemo loomed, his frame shrinking like faded blueprints. Fought for bricks. He told us in the hospital hush. Mom's hand in his. Now fight for time. Kai organized art therapy for patients. Canvases in wards, colors combating gray. I redesigned his study into a home command center. Monitors for consults, easel for distractions. Vigil was vigil. Mia's recitals streamed bedside. Pup visits smuggled past nurses. Carlos rallied, gruff as ever. Don't mollycoddle. Got legacies to tweak. His last big act? Funding a center wing. Reyes atrium. Doors wide. He passed in November's hush. Peaceful, sketchpad clutched. Funeral was fusion. St. Patrick's Mass bleeding into a block party wake. Eras and hymns mingling. Eulogy mine. He built empires, but found heart in the underbelly. Grief's tide pulled, but didn't drown. Kai and I leaned, Therapy sessions unpacking compartments, weekends hiking the Palisades for air. Romance renewed. Slow dances in the kitchen, his knees strong against mine. Winter solstice, we adopted twins, boys from the system, wide-eyed wonders named Luca and Theo. Sketch approved, tail thumping. Nursery murals, our hands, skylines with hidden hearts. New Year's, fire escape perch, city ablaze below. Kai knelt, playful, ring polishing the boy's tiny cuffs. Speechless, Daddy? I gathered them close, family constellation. Eloquent, eternally. Our story, no finale, just chapters. Dramatic drafts, betrayals burnished to lessons. Love the ink that binds. In America's vast grid, we carved our corner. Human, heartfelt, horizons ever drawn.